Greetings there, 8th graders. This is Mr. Rogers. Obviously, I'm not at school with you guys today. I'm at home again and duking it out with pneumonia, which I can tell you has been a lot of fun all of last week and into this week. I'm hoping to return to school soon. I'm not sure exactly when that is. I have another doctor's appointment later today on Monday to be able to check that out. I'm a little short of breath, so if I pause occasionally and cough, that's just kind of what I do right now. But what I wanted to do was talk you guys through what we're going to be doing in class today, because even though I'm not here, the learning is going to continue. And so I know you guys have been working hard in my absence. I've been watching the things that you've been working on getting uploaded and turned in. So for example, I've been able to go through and finish grading the last of the rock labs. You'll notice the rock cycle has been graded now too, as has also been the cross-cutting relationships, at least those the ones that got turned in. So I've been kind of watching and trying to make plans on where we go next accordingly. And with the amount of time that we have left in school, it's making sense to me that we do some sort of wrap up here for the Ring of Fire today, or excuse me, for the School of Rocks today. But that's it. It's today. I don't want to have a big, long, 2-week long project for you guys to do because we don't have like 2 weeks left. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a project in a day. And I'm going to show you the handout. And you actually can go and grab it right now. It's in Schoology. It should be set up in the School of Rocks folder, this time in the Endpoints folder. Those of you who do not have an iPad, you can get a paper copy from the bucket, but only for folks who don't have an iPad. I'm really relying on you guys going paperless on this as much as you can. So the idea of the mini project is that you create something in class today that shows that you've learned deeply, and that you've learned something that's kind of good quality, and that you can show it really quickly and easily. So with that in mind, I'm going to talk you through the different pages. I kind of broke it down, this PDF here, I broke it down for you as kind of like a guide sheet. So you're not actually turning this PDF back into me for a grade, but rather this is your planning sheet. This is how you get through the steps, build your little mini day project thing, and then you create that something here in class. So let's talk through it, and I think it'll make sense as soon as you start to see it here. So remember, our essential question is, to what extent can rocks talk to us? And I think at this point, I'm not sure that there's a whole lot of argument in terms of whether or not rocks can quote-unquote talk to us. But they certainly have information. They have a sort of language, a sort of story to tell. And so what I'm really curious is, what stories do you think those rocks do tell you? And so step one, you can see it right here. Step one is to find the story. You may already have it in your head. Cool. You might be kind of in a panic right now going, I still don't know what the story is, Mr. Rogers. And that's also cool. I think this process page right here, this page 1, should get you through in about 5 or 10 minutes. Results will vary a little bit, but I think this is kind of your brainstorming session part here. So the stories have been right there in the learning activities. They've been lying there in the learning activities that we did right in plain view. So what I've done is I've listed the activities. I'll zoom in just a little bit. I don't have the benefit of an iPad right now, so I'm kind of typing away on my computer. But you can see that we had the Deep Time Challenge, for example. And there was, I think, a story hidden in there, or that the rocks were telling you a story when we did that challenge. I think there might be a story that the rocks are telling you from this one too, when we did our work with fossils, identifying fossils here in Minnesota, like the brachiopods and the bryozoans and the trilobites, and learning how they became fossils. I think there's a story here too when we learned about how we date rocks, relative dating and absolute dating. I think there's probably a story that rocks are telling us in the Igneous Rock Lab. So if you think back to what were the big nuggets that you learned in some of these activities? What surprised you? If you trace it back, really it's the rocks that were supplying you that aha moment, that, oh, I didn't know this was true. And it's the rocks that are telling you these things. And of course, the sedimentary and metamorphic labs were activities where perhaps these rocks were telling you, maybe even teaching you things about themselves. And even our last couple activities here, the rock cycle and the cross-cutting relationships. What was it the rock cycle was telling you about our home planet here, the Earth? What were the rocks telling you in the cross-cutting relationships? The thing we're looking for here is something kind of big and something kind of profound. Not something small like rocks are hard. That's not a big, profound thing. That's not a story that they tell. But if you look at an igneous rock, perhaps an igneous rock can tell you a lot about your home planet. Maybe it tells you a lot about you. I'm not sure. Like all of our other essential questions, they're kind of open-ended on purpose to give you a chance to kind of explore it and turn it into something that's valuable to you. Oops, I think I just accidentally jumped a page here. So things to ponder. You'll notice this is just like a little reminder here. You don't have to find answers to these questions, but these questions might help push you a little deeper to think about the essential question a little bit more. So something to consider would be, do some of these activities have similar or different stories? Are you seeing a pattern or a trend through some of these stories? In which case, maybe you've got something a little bit bigger to grab a hold of, a larger theme. Or perhaps, do the individual stories add up? Or is there one really strong story that beats all the others? Maybe there are little stories here and there, but maybe one of these just knocks it out of the ballpark for you. So these are things to ponder, but don't feel like you have to answer like these in order to get a good question. You'll have to excuse me, I get a little short of breath sometimes. That's why I kind of cut out a little bit. So I'm going to soldier on here. This spot right here is just for you to brainstorm some thoughts and ideas. So jot down ideas, even the crazy ones. You might be surprised about what pops up and, again, how they might connect with each other. So that's the brainstorming session part. Looking at the activities we did, trying to say to yourself, okay, what have the rocks told me? What have they taught me? What stories have they told me? And again, about the Earth, about yourself, but what do they tell you? Once you have the story, then you move on to the second page, which is step 2, backing up the story. So if you're going to tell me that rocks tell a particular story, then you're going to want to back that up with some details from the activities that showed that to you. So for example, I put here a brainstorming piece for you again. So right here you could write down what you think your rock story is. So the rocks tell me blank, blank, blank. And of course, learning activity you got it from was the Deep Time Challenge, or it was the cross-cutting relationships. Then just go back to that activity and pull some details from it to support your answer. So if it was deep time, maybe you talk about some parts or some aspects of the calendar, some things that you learned from it. If it's the rock cycle, maybe you go back, pull that up out of your ISN and pull some details from that so that supports your story. So in other words, you have proof to back up what you're saying. So you say, here's my deep, profound answer. That's step 1. Step 2 is, here are details that I learned to support it, which always makes teachers go all weak at the knees, because that's like the cool part, right? When kids can show what they know and they can provide proof. So you'll notice this is kind of a shortened version. I'm looking for just 3 details from an activity that links back to your essential question answer, your rock story, in other words. Again, suggested 5 to 10 minutes for that brainstorming part 2. And then you get to step 3, which is really where you will spend most of your time. And that is in telling the story. So now you have the story, now you have the details, now you just plug it into one of these options. These are all intended to be things that you can create quickly, in class, boom, 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 it's done. So let's start with something that would be pretty easy, I think. Here, let's look at this bottom one, Diary of a Wimpy Rock. So on this one here, I want you to imagine that you're creating a series of diary entries that take you through a rock's life as it goes through the life cycle, or the rock cycle, excuse me. And you include all the different stages, you know, the igneous, metamorphic, sedimentary. You use vocab terms like I'm using right there. Maybe even impress me even more with some other vocab terms like clastic or organic sedimentary rocks, or you talk about intrusive or extrusive igneous rocks. The thing is that you'll do these like diary entries about, oh, how's my day been? And then do a quick little hand sketch to illustrate what the diary entry was about. And when all of these are read together, these diary entries will explain your insightful answer. So in other words, you'll show me the answer to the essential question. You'll tell me the story that the rocks are telling right there in the diary itself. Because this is done in a day, I would love for you to spend tons of time making the artwork pretty and colorful and typing out the text and all those sorts of things. But this has got to be quick. So this is just you grabbing some sheets of paper. You write the story. You probably erased some things as you go, you know, because you're working as you go. But you give a real simple stick person kind of drawing, and boom, you run with it. Here is another one that's kind of similar. You're doing a comic strip here in this one. You use simple sketches and powerful images accompanied by some text. And you use that to help demonstrate your answer to the essential question. Use text a little, use images a lot to convey your great insights. Again, it'd be great if we could use color, but we don't have that. So this will probably be black and white comic strip kind of thing. But maybe you can tell me the essential question answer. You can tell me what you learned, the story that rocks tell through this comic strip. Another one could be the movie poster idea, where you'd get kind of like a mini poster sheet and you'd make a movie poster, where you would make up a fake like title, illustrate it, have the essential question answer there, include a synopsis of the film itself. But the one thing I would warn you about this one, I like this one, but it really requires deep creative thinking. So beware. This is one where you could jump at it because it sounds kind of fun, and you could realize, oh my gosh, this is a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. I don't know if I can dig down that deep and get that creative, because you got to be pretty clever with your images. You got to get really clever with your titles and your synopsis and things like that. So if you're feeling it, I'd say go for it. If you're not feeling it, there are lots of other choices. So over here we have the song tie-in. For the song tie-in, I think it's pretty obvious here. Take your favorite song, print, or probably more likely with the time we have today, just write out the lyrics, and then look for ways that the lyrics from your favorite song can relate back to or represent your answer from the essential question. So you kind of like sketch the meanings of the song so that they can fit into what we've learned. You have to stretch a little bit. You got to be creative on this one too. But you'd write those meanings down as side notes. You notice I do this sometimes in science class where we'll play a song and I'll say, how does this connect? Anyway, you'd turn in those side notes along with the lyrics and show me what you've learned. The last one is rock slam poetry. If you don't know much about slam poetry, you can click on the link and just read up on it there. Basically, you're making a cool poem about what you've learned about rocks, the story that they tell. In true slam poetry, you have to stand up and speak it. That won't happen here. You're just making it, writing it out, but write it as if you were standing on stage and reading with deep passion, like this cool thing that you learned about rocks. So the ideal due date, end of class today. If you can't get it done by the end of class today, by the beginning of class tomorrow. That's what's in front of you today. Good luck, everybody. I can't wait to see you when I get back.